Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Vaughn Lane. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Be sure to tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking, get your questions in. We're going to get to those here in a little bit. First, I need to say a big thank you to everybody. We went over 75,000 subscribers sometime between now and I guess last night. So a big thank you to each and every one of you for that. That is awesome. And then secondly, we need to talk a little basketball. Texas pulls it out yesterday, guys. Beats Vanderbilt 79-72.
I was in the arena. I got to say this first.
Well, I want to bring something up real quick.
Okay.
I got to ask a question. Smith 23-22 is in Lubbock. Is that they're still full up there? How's the smell this morning in Lubbock, guys?
Yeah, did y'all see that, by the way? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but basically the entire Texas Tech campus was evacuated last night or yesterday afternoon because there was methane gas. Is that right, Blake? I think you were on top of it.
Sewer gas and some other stuff. Yeah,
was on fire underneath the Texas Tech University campus. So the entire campus was evacuated. Obviously, it's a joke, but we hope everybody up there is okay. As far as the basketball game is concerned, I was there yesterday in the arena. Texas came out really, really hot. Now, after about 5 minutes, I say really, really hot. From 5 minutes on, Texas controlled that basketball game, Jerry and Blake, like one I haven't seen. I mean, this is what we hoped the team would look like, 2 months ago, Jerry. Now, I will say this. It was interesting. They one of the things I felt like Rodney Terry was allowed to do with Kendall Weaver returning is get a little bit more rotation at the guard play. And Weaver absolutely adds an element of athleticism on defense. If a guy starts to get hot behind the three or starts to drive on guys, he just puts Weaver on him, and all of a sudden that kind of dissipates. That was maybe the main difference I saw yesterday. Vanderbilt did not shoot the ball well in the first half either. But Rodney Terry, survive and advance, baby. That's what it's all about. He's got A&M today, right, Jerry?
Yeah, we'll see. Jiu-Jitsu was Vanderbilt. They were 20-11 and in the tournament before that game, more than likely, or possibly. Vanderbilt, actually, that coach, first-year coach, is a really good offensive coach. They just didn't make shots. But what they did, what yesterday kind of was due to, and I'm not saying the season's due to injury, but rotations are due to injury. What Texas originally wanted to do this season, what they did against TCU before Tremont Mark's injury, was they had Tremont Mark as a initiator of offense and a decent playmaker, pretty good undervalued playmaker out of the ball screen game. Well, his injury set all that back. So that kind of took away some of those plans, and they had to kind of reconfigure because they didn't know when he was going to be healthy, how healthy he was going to be. So they kind of had to reconfigure what some of the things they were working on in preseason practice and that TCU scrimmage early on. And then to Bobby's point, Weaver's a top three. If you put everybody in this university in the major sports through, or, probably all sports, and through an NFL combine test, he would be a top three athlete on the campus. For those that don't watch basketball or haven't really taken a up close look at Kendall Weaver, he is an exceptional athlete. And he plays, and then when you add energy and effort to that, that takes you to another level as a energy player, as a glue player, as a role player. That guy is a freak athlete if you haven't seen him up close in person, and he maximizes that athleticism through energy and effort. Now he's got to continue to build an offensive game, but that guy's a great athlete, and you just can't. I mean, I'm glad they overturned the BS goaltending call. He makes plays out of nowhere for a team. Yep. He saves 4 to 6 points a game for you defensively just by sheer effort plays off the ball. That he just comes in and makes plays on the ball with effort. It could be second chance scoring opportunities through a rebound. right? It could be grabbing a defensive rebound against a 6'10" guy, which you wouldn't expect somebody to do. But so his effort is a difference maker for this team. Now, different matchup today. A&M's going to try to bully ball Texas. They're going to try to play rugged. They're going to try to slow it down on Texas. They know Texas can score 75 to 80 on you if they're healthy, because they do have really good offensive players. But, Texas was smoking the zone yesterday of Vanderbilt. Then when Vanderbilt went back and they got more into isolation basketball, A&M's going to want them to play isolation basketball today. They would love to see Texas playing isolation offensive basketball today, and not forcing A&M's help defense, rotational defense, and putting them in positions that are tougher defensively. Texas, A&M's also going to try to crush Texas on the offensive glass. That's where they're going to go after Texas. And it's a big game. Look, it's interesting for A&M fans, guys. If A&M wins, they put the burning slug in a Texas coach, which looks good for a while, but then who does Texas hire? If Texas beats A&M, they're going to get in the NCAA tournament and win this season series 2-1. So interesting spot to be for A&M today. 2:30, Nashville. Winner gets Tennessee in the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament.
I think if Rodney Terry beats Tennessee and A&M, or A&M and Tennessee back-to-back, pretty strong resume for a tournament. He absolutely has to win today or he's not in. Yes. They came back and said last night that their prognostication is, even with this win, Texas is still the second team out of the NCAA tournament, behind a North Carolina team apparently that only has one quad one win, whereas Texas now has 6 quad one wins. And that's going to be one of those things now with Texas in the SEC, where the difficulty of the in-conference schedule may hurt you come playoff time, because you have too many losses. You're 6-12 in conference. That's just not very good.
Roy asks, how many wins does Texas? If Texas wins today, they're going to get in the tournament. I would bet a lot on that. That would be 7 quad one wins. That'd be beating a top 15 team, winning 2 games in the SEC tournament against 20-plus win teams. If they win today, they're going to get in. They're going to move. I mean, Georgia lost yesterday. Arkansas won, which is big for Arkansas. Oklahoma won. Obviously, that was huge for them. So they beat Texas, and then Georgia, boom, right out of the gate in the SEC tournament. So Porter Moser also on that hot seat, getting a couple of wins. Looks good for them to get into the tournament. But if Texas beats A&M today, I think they get in. Now, it may be a play-in game situation, but I think they get in if they win today, which I think that's really what it comes down to. If they lose, it's done. If they win, they get in. And the thing about the teams that have really good offensive players, even if it's isolation basketball, all it takes is a couple of hot games, man. I mean, all it takes is a couple of hot games. A Trey Johnson 35-point game. Him and Tremont Mark combined for 52 in a first-round game or a second-round game. All bets are off when you get to the tournament. Do I think it's going to happen? They haven't shown any consistency for it to happen. But if they win today, they're going to get their opportunity in the tournament.
You want to think he did yesterday that I thought, and I'm hat tip to Rodney Terry, I thought he brought Kendall Weaver back in. I think he only had 18 minutes, right, of action. I thought he brought him in and brought him along the way you would want to do that. That guy could have – you go out there and play him 30 minutes, all of a sudden he's dead. He doesn't have his conditioning, right, Jerry? Then he would be dead for the next day. But only playing 18 minutes, he's going to be fine today. I think that Texas will be fine playing A&M today.
Yeah, his adrenaline and his attitude will get him through in dead legs. That's just the way that guy plays.
Okay. All right.
I agree with you. So it'll be interesting. And Kingme said Terry finally put Mark at point guard. That's what I was talking about earlier. Is that was kind of the plan preseason, but then you had the injuries. You had the injury to Mark and not knowing where he was at, how long it was going to take him to get back. But today's a different team, and it's a different matchup. And Buzz Williams got to watch that yesterday, so they will they will plan accordingly. So we'll see Texas, Kaluma, Johnson, Mark. They're all going to have to play really well today. They're gonna have to score to overcome second chance scoring for A&M. And Wade Taylor's a really good player.
All right, well, you're watching Coffee and Football presented by Vaughn Lane. And speaking of Vaughn Lane, Bobby, I'm going to go ahead and let you tell everybody about them.
Yeah, we're taking the bus, man. Tired of the hassle of flying or driving in the great state of Texas? Driving yourself on I-35, I-45, or I-10 is stressful. Airports, long lines, security stress, cramped seats, got to deal with all of that there. Just getting to your destination feels exhausting. Next time you need to travel between Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, skip the stress and ride Vaughn Lane. Your private jet on wheels arrived just minutes before departure at one of Vaughn Lane's centrally located luxurious hotel partners. Settle into your spacious reclining seat with tons of legroom and personal space. Enjoy complimentary snacks, drinks, Wi-Fi, even meals on select departures, all while you sit back and relax. Experience travel the way it should be. Visit vaughnlane.com. Use promo code OTF25 for $20 off your first trip. Vaughn Lane, first class travel without the hassle. Very happy to have them on board. UT grad owner and creator, I guess, of Vaughn Lane. Just a tremendous guy and has been a big help for us here. We're happy to have him as a sponsor of On Texas Football and Coffee and Football. Give them a try. vaughnlane.com. Use promo code OTF25 for $20 off. It's reasonable, affordable, a lot less stress traveling between major cities in the state of Texas.
Thank you, Bobby. And Jerry, yes, you put an interesting note up on a player on OnTexasFootball.com, Michael Terry. I'm going to let you tell folks about that.
Yeah, I was told yesterday evening, I guess, late afternoon, evening. I can't remember what it was. That Michael Terry, the freshman kind of offensive toy right now, let's call it, until Sark decides where he's going to settle in. Currently working at wide receiver. We'll start spring working at wide receiver. Could play some running back, could play some H-back, just see where he goes as a player, because I don't think anything's determined right now inside the building. He apparently hit 22 miles an hour in off-season workout recently at 214 pounds. That's pretty significant number for a guy that, again, almost closing on 6'3", 214. And we've talked about it, Bobby, before. The one thing about this 2025 class that I think may have been most impressive outside of a number one ranking was the jumbo athletes that are in this class at positionally, whether that's a Michael Terry just as an offensive player, period, until they decide where his career is best at, where his upside's best at. Nick Townsend, Elijah Barnes, Jonah Williams at safety, Lance Jackson at edge. There are a number of big athletes, jumbo athletes at positions that were in this number one ranked recruiting class. And Michael Terry hitting 22 miles an hour at 214 pounds is pretty impressive for a really young player.
I just need him to find a home. That, to your point, Jerry, you called him it's fair. He's a toy right now because you don't know whether he's going to be wide receiver, H-back, running back. He is that. Okay. Yep. If he is physical, though, Jerry, I keep going back to that same conversation. If he is up to the physicality of college football and prepare for that and can manage that, the world is his oyster. He can play any of those positions and be a big positive impact for the Longhorns, maybe early in his career. Okay? Because that 22 miles an hour is not otherworldly. It is if you're 215 pounds.
Yeah.
So, that's the piece of the puzzle there that's interesting to me for Texas and what Michael Terry. And how does he fit with the other receivers right now? I mean, we've heard great things about Jamie French. We've heard good things about Khalid Lockett and Dalen McCutcheon. There's just a lot of pieces to the puzzle that we're interested in at this point. So I'm anxious. We talked about it 2 days ago when Sark was at the mic. Spring ball starts March 25th, which 12 days from today. a week and a half from Monday. So can't wait for that to happen.
Juju Juice says that workout video yesterday showed that Cole is a unit, and I don't know if y'all have seen this, but I'm gonna play it here for you while you talk about it.
I mean, look, Cole Brevard. We were talking about this on State of the Program yesterday. There's Daniel Cruz. I think that was Neto as well, but Anthony Hill there. But I think Cole Brevard, Travis Shaw, Hero Canoe, because of experience. I'm not going to be surprised if Texas isn't on the interior even better against the run next year, especially early on in the season. Cole Brevard's played a lot of snaps over the football in the Power 4 level against really good competition. He was originally signed to Penn State, transferred to Purdue. Travis Shaw, really good against the run. Hero Canoe, a lot of experience, obviously playing against pro guys. We talked about that with Bill Norton last year. Difference was Bill Norton went to Arizona and put up, 38, 40 tackles in a season. But those guys have played against NFL guys every single day as they built out their frames and developed their technique. And then Alex January in year 2, it's not going to surprise me because of Cole Brevard's ability to play over the ball at 6'1", 325, 330 pounds. Bobby, if Texas isn't even a little better on the interior against the run next year. Now, disruptive ability, maybe not so, unless they get a disruptor out of the portal.
Yeah, that would be my question. Interior, I think Cole Brevard is a reasonable facsimile of Jermaine Lole. Okay, I'm not saying one's better than the other. I think Cole Brevard and Jermaine Lole, very similar players. Two gap guys, not going to be all over the map, chasing plays from sideline to sideline. The question I have at defensive tackle isn't necessarily with Brevard. It's going to be what Travis Shaw brings to the table and how improved is an Alex January year over year. It's what are they going to do missing Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton, because Vernon Broughton was also more of a 3 technique as well. And that's the disruptive part of it. Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton were last year, where Lole and Norton were more of that anchor.
Yeah.
And so I think that Brevard's going to provide at least one of the anchors. I'm interested to see what January and Travis Shaw can bring to the table as disruptors. Yeah. I think that's going to be key. And perhaps one other from the portal.
Yeah, let's not
forget. I mean, we talked about that yesterday in State of the Program.
Yeah,
they're still going to be looking for a defensive tackle in the portal because they need one, especially over the ball.
Yep.
And while we're talking about defensive linemen, Dave wants to know, is Shaw the biggest defensive lineman Texas has seen in years?
I saw Tavondre Sweat yesterday. I'm going to tell you no. He was at the basketball game. No, is the answer, Dave.
Yeah.
Tavondre Sweat's a huge human being, by the way.
Yes.
I mean, we always talk about the guys that walk up to you, the football players that walk up to you, and they're not necessarily it's not their muscles, even though they're really strong and got big biceps and all this other stuff. It's their chest. It looks, Tavondre Sweat doesn't look like he swallowed an oak barrel. He looks like he swallowed 2 of them.
Yeah.
He's just a huge human being.
And I bet he enjoyed the hoops. He's a guy that grew up a hoops guy. Yeah. For those that don't know Tavondre Sweat's story, Kevin Durant going to Texas was one of the big reasons he was interested in Texas. And he said that before in a couple of interviews. Really big basketball guy he was, and grew up on playing AAU basketball until he obviously was going to grow out of that sport and wasn't going to grow tall enough to live out those basketball dreams. But great that he's living out another dream right now.
Yeah, good guy. Anyways, he was there with a couple other NFL guys from the Titans yesterday. Look, Texas obviously having a interesting recruiting year right now. Jerry, you had a couple of guys that you wanted to mention this morning that have now set up official visits to Texas that hadn't previously. You put news out on them on Texas football early this morning. One of them is a name that you've been bandying about a little bit from Georgia, but there's a new name altogether from the state of California that now is interested in the Longhorns. He's committed to Oregon. Give it a go and let people know what's going on with recruiting.
So I'm going to answer this real quick. Darius McKinley, brother of the McKinley that signed with LSU last year, released his top 4 and Texas was in it. I'll see where Texas actually is in that race right now. He hasn't, his frame hasn't built out. A really good player hasn't built out like his brother had, whose brother's going to be a really good player at LSU, by the way. But on recruiting, Kamari Brooks, the edge out of North Oconee in the Bogart, Georgia, in that North Georgia, north of Atlanta area. He is scheduled, watching him here. He's one of the top 2 sport guys in the state of Georgia. He is scheduled to officially visit Texas June 13th through 15th. Now he has Georgia at the end of May, first weekend in June. He has Alabama and he has USC as well. But he's also, he had told me last week he was coming in April. He didn't know the date yet. He still hasn't said that date. I assume it's going to be April 12th, right around there. That's when Texas is trying to get a lot of those guys on campus. But he's also a pretty talented basketball player. You know, he could be a D2 probably level basketball kid, a good player on the hoops, on the hardwood as well. But a guy that Alan Clark's first offer at edge when he was hired at Texas is Kamari Brooks out of North Oconee in Georgia. So a guy that we expect to be on campus this spring. And then now he has his June 13th through 15th official visit set up. Another guy from the state of Georgia there. And while we watch him, I'll talk about, I can't pronounce the name, Tamini Tapai out of Mater Dei. He's an Oregon commitment. I butchered his name. Apologies. 6'3", 320 over the ball player. I talked to somebody on the West Coast yesterday, and they told me they think he's coming into Texas June 13th through 15th for an official visit. Oregon commitment. So that was another one to watch, kind of a new name. Texas obviously is recruiting a lot of those Mater Dei guys. A number of the Texas staff members were out there in early January, right after, 3 days after the national semifinal loss. That was the first stop, was Mater Dei and SoCal. Before they started heading east and hitting schools in Texas. But he's likely to visit Texas June 13th through 15th, the Oregon commit, who Oregon's going to have to hold off USC as well as Texas in that one. So Texas up to 40 official visitors on the board right now. They had 41 last June. I've been saying I think that number is going to creep up closer to 50, and I stand by that because I think there's 3-4 more D linemen that will set official visits. I think Vodney Cleveland from Birmingham Parker. It won't shock me if he's not coming in around June 13th through 15th as well. I don't think it's been announced or maybe locked in yet. And then you're gonna add a few other guys as well. So I think that official visitors list for June is going to creep up close to 50, which is kind of tough to do considering Sark doesn't. He only does the June officials. He really doesn't do that first weekend, that May 30, June 2nd weekend. Texas is only June 6th through 8th, 13th through 15th. And 20th through 22nd. So that's fitting 50 official visitors around that number in on 3 weekends. So they're not spread out. They're all coming in that 3 weeks in a row, bang, bang, bang. So it'll be interesting to see. And then, of course, you have spring evaluation period starts April 15th. And that around the same area, the portal window opens, Bobby, I think April 15th through 25th for the portal window. But Texas up to 40 official visitors. I think that will creep up close to 50.
All right, Jerry, we got a if I can get this to work, a recruiting super chat for you. This one from Rand Rodriguez. Thank you, Rand. He says, it's rare that Texas recruits Oklahoma for a recruit. So how serious is their recruitment of Mason James?
Yeah, they offered him a few days ago. And it'll only get serious if he steps foot on campus this spring. So let's see if that visit happens. You suspect it will, but Oklahoma is considered the team to beat here. Somebody mentioned LSU and Darius McKinley, obviously, because his brother is there. That they should be considered the favorite until they aren't. But Mason James, we'll see if when he makes it to campus. Obviously, Arizona State, I think, has a May official visit. Then Oklahoma, June 20th. So Oklahoma's already got him in that last weekend of June. So we'll see where it goes. But Oklahoma is easily the team to beat here. But a recent offer. So We just got to see when he gets to campus. And like we say on all these guys that have never been to campus before, same thing happened with Jamie French. Last year, Sharman, some other guys, Myron Charles, they'd never been on campus till the spring. Once that spring unofficial visit happens, then Sark and staff and prospect and parents or circle come together and say, yeah, this makes sense. Let's move forward with it and set up a June official visit. So I think that's where we're at in the process with a lot of these guys. Even if 3 or 4 of them actually have June official visits set right now, they could come on an unofficial visit in March or April and things change. And then there's going to be some guys that don't have officials set to Texas that they get on campus in March and they end up with an official visit and juggling their official visit list. Kendall Gerville, the defensive lineman out of North Fort Myers, is one of those guys in my estimation. So Mason James, will see when he gets on campus. And when that visit happens, do they move forward from that standpoint? And I don't have that answer yet.
That would really be going into the belly of the beast. I mean, he's at Norman. he's in Norman, Oklahoma. It's not like he's in, I don't know, Tulsa or Enid. I mean, he's in Norman. That's going to be tough.
I wanted to answer this one real quick before we move on. Benjamin asked, what about Justus Terry? How's the development? Are they willing to put him out there early? He was 272, 273 pounds last week. So, and I've said this before, he's going to cross-train. He is going to play this spring some at edge, but he's going to be in the D-line meeting rooms with Kenny Baker. We broke this, I don't know, a month ago at this point. But as he develops and adds weight to his frame, because he came into Texas in the high 250s is where he was. So he's up to like 272, 273, kind of probably depending on when you weigh him, right? And could he be closer to 280 by the start of the season? Potentially, yeah. But 280 line up as a 3-tech in the SEC, Bobby. There aren't many of those guys. So I think that he's going to cross-train this spring from what we hear as his frame fills out. But we think he'll absolutely be a 5-tech, 3-tech long-term. That development physically may just be until next spring. But do I think he's going to get on the field this year? The reviews are really, really good for him. He is a professional in his mindset. I've said this before. One of the things I was told, he's actually goes to the older offensive linemen and kind of games with them a little bit. Hey, look, if I do this against you, what is your counter to me? And how would you attack me? And what should I do to attack you? He has got a real professional mindset. He's not there to hang out and have fun and wear the Texas jersey and run out from under the tunnel. We talked about that recently as well, those out-of-state guys. It's a little different for those guys. He has brought a professional mindset right out of the gate to Texas. He is on a 3-year plan. I do think he'll play. The question is where he'll play this year.
And one other question here. This one from David Keith Williams. What's up with Dylan Berryman next to Jalen Lott and John Turntine? He's the most important recruit for Texas, in David's opinion.
Yeah, I think Texas has been in a good place for him for a while. Texas A&M, USC are going to provide strong competition there. He'll be on campus June 13th through 15th. I think he'll be on campus again this spring, more than likely. But I think Texas has been in a good spot there. I went by the school in January. I don't think much has changed since then in terms of Texas has been on him the longest of the major schools that he's really interested in. It's a different recruitment because, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Missouri, Arkansas, some of those people have made some pushes for him, and he hasn't really reciprocated that interest. Now he has with A&M and USC, and then at U of H and Texas Tech even. But he is, LSU went through there. Brian Kelly went through there in January with Bo Davis, then at LSU and the staff. He hadn't really reciprocated that interest as strongly as some other kids have. Not saying he won't, but I think right now Texas is in a pretty good spot headed into the spring unofficials and June official visits. But we'll see what A&M and USC have to say about it.
All right. Well, let's see what you have to say, Jerry, about Goodr, as it's time for you to tell everybody about it.
Man, look, man, Rodney Terry put the Goodrs on yesterday in Nashville. I'll give him credit. Stylish Sonny, starting at only $25 a pair, 1 year free warranty, 1-year warranty, 30-day free returns, light and comfortable, 100% polarized, no slip, no bounce, from vibrant colors to sleek styles. There's a pair of Goodrs for every personality, designed for everyday wear and active individuals that love to run, hike, bike, and much more. When do I wear my Goodr Sunnies? Cycling, beach, on a walk, on a hike, wherever. I don't play pickleball, but I would if I did. On a run, I don't like to run, but I'd wear those too if I was running, because they're so affordable. You don't have to worry about losing or breaking them. You can have a pair for every occasion. If you need a new pair of Sunnies, Goodr is giving On Texas football listeners free shipping. You can go to goodr.com/OnTexas, all caps, and use that code for free shipping. Goodr offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. I'll put that in the trash. Again, you don't need it. And 100% satisfaction out of zero. Again, that's goodr.com/OnTexas. Use code OnTexas, all caps, for free shipping. And those UT Goodrs they have, very popular, but they're always sold out of those. That's when you know you have a great product. They're always sold out. Oh, Blake. He's muted.
Gosh, I made it 7 days without doing it. And then I finally, dang it. Joe is going to be all on my case about it now. Hopefully he's not seeing this. But anyway, I don't know about you guys, but I like keeping my money where I can see it. Unfortunately, traditional big wireless carriers also seem to like keeping my money too. After years of overpaying for wireless, I finally got fed up from the crazy high wireless bills, those bogus fees, and the free perks that actually cost more in the long run. I made the switch to Mint Mobile. And just like me, you can say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan's jaw-dropping monthly bills. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at just $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. The best part is you can use any phone, your own phone, with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your own phone number along with all of your contacts. Ditch that overpriced wireless. Get 3 months of premium wireless service for Mint Mobile for just $15 a month. And again, if you like money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop their plans at mintmobile.com/OnTexas. That's mintmobile.com/OnTexas. An upfront payment of $45 for a 3-month 5-gig plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for the first 3 months only, then full price plan options are available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
Hey, Blake.
What's up?
We're turning you into OSHA. 0 days since your last accident at work from break the fluid.
I was doing so good, too. So good. Man, then it just threw it all away with one click.
Hey, we need to answer
0 days now.
Yeah.
Look at this. Hey, we need Longhorn Frenzy Blake needs an OSHA safety board behind him. He has to erase the 7 and make it back to 0.
That's a good idea.
That's a good. Hey, we need to answer this. We haven't talked about this in a while. So we're 12 days out from Aaliyah Chavez's announcement. What is the percentage of her committing to Texas? Blake, you got a percentage? Oh, you're getting thrown out there today.
Yeah. Hey, do you still think it's Oklahoma and Texas with Tech a distant third at this point?
I do. So for those that may have missed the news, what was it last week? I think we talked about it. OU really surging in this recruitment. Texas Tech now running in third, where before it was more of a 1A, 1B situation. But now I think that's Oklahoma and Texas as 1A, 1B. I'd say conservatively 60% Texas.
Ooh, Blake, there you go.
What about you, Jerry?
I think from a recruiting standpoint, it's such an interesting recruitment.
Yeah.
Because, Oklahoma they shoot the 3 more, right? They can say you're our missing piece. They're a really good team this year. Have a lot of pieces back. They lose their point guard. So you know what their sell is to that. And they took 800 threes as a team this year. I mean, they made 260 in that area code. It's pretty much an open style, averages 86 points a game. They get up and down. They shoot a lot of threes. Kind of really fits her style of play. But then there's the Texas side that from a winner with Vic Schaefer, a marketing standpoint, the university, the state of Texas, the chance to be kind of legendary in the state of Texas, You started that legendary, kind of like similar to what TJ Ford did. You know, he won a couple of state titles at Willow Ridge, McDonald's All-American, and he stayed in the state and went to the University of Texas. And what that did for him, building a kind of a legendary status in this state in basketball, his parents were pretty good visionaries for their son at that standpoint. Because at that time, TJ had Arizona, Cincinnati, who had Van Exel and all those guys, a number of others that he really was looked at, especially Arizona, who was a hot team when he was coming out, right? And had kids from Texas go out there and have success and had tons of NBA guys. But that's kind of where it's interesting to me is, you know, I remember from TJ's recruitment, a lot of people said, oh, why would he go there? You know, Rick Barnes didn't play his style of play. Does it really make sense for him as a player? And then when he went to Texas, it really changed Rick as much as anything. And TJ kind of, and Rick Barnes tells a story. He's kind of showed Rick, hey man, you know, you get a guy like this, you put him together with your really good team and just kind of let him go and let him be him, and great things could happen. And that happened at Texas. Their only Final Four since that period of time, obviously. But with Aaliyah, I think it's an interesting recruitment. Then you have the Tech aspect. She's always been a Nike kid. It doesn't seem like if she ends up signing a deal with Nike in today's NIL world that going to Tech would make sense, because it's different now than it was pre-NIL. That's the hometown. But did you do all this work to climb the ladder to be the number one ranked girls basketball player in America and not go to the SEC and play in the premier conference at a premier brand? I think it's a fascinating recruitment. If she was a football prospect, this chat would just be going every day. Would be talking about how interesting this choice was going to be. I think Oklahoma has an advantage on style of play, being real. And I think Texas has an advantage on everything else. What will it end up being? We'll see in 12 days. So I'm not giving a percentage.
We got a few follow-up questions. Steve wanting to know if Texas is recruiting her teammate Cole. I don't believe so, Steve, but some other major Division I programs are, like Oklahoma State, those type. But I don't think you'll see Texas going after that. Z Holly says Chavez's father was quick to shoot down the rumor that it was down in Texas and OU last week. Is this a negotiating tactic? I think that was more he was shooting down the fact that there was a report out there she was asking for $1.5 million, because that's not true. So that's
I think all three schools are in it on some level, and they live in Lubbock. So that's you can't just come out, even if you're not going to Tech, Bobby, you can't just come out and say, I'm down to 2. I mean, she's a hometown hero there.
And he has a business there.
There's a lot.
I wonder if that pushes her to Oklahoma as much as anything, to be honest.
That's why it's a fascinating recruitment. It's like, I mean, it's a fascinating recruitment. There's a lot of layers to this recruitment.
Yeah. If you're just now joining us, by the way, we're talking about the nation's number 1 player in women's basketball, Aaliyah Chavez, out of Lubbock, Texas. Lubbock, Texas. We also mentioned this at the start. The Texas Tech University campus had to be evacuated yesterday afternoon because there was sewage gas building up and on fire underneath the campus. So the entire campus, if you see some of that, look at that. There's some video of it. Woo! Coming out of that manhole cover.
Yeah, stay away from that manhole cover, man.
Yeah, you think?
That's crazy.
So I hope everything's under control out there in Lubbock now. Students back on campus, et cetera. But obviously, something to think about, and be happy that you're not underneath that manhole cover at this point in your life as well. Jerry mentioned earlier today also 2 new official visitors lined up for the University of Texas football program, and also recapping Texas men's basketball plays today at 2:30 against Texas A&M after really dominating Vanderbilt for almost all of the game yesterday. It was the first time in a long time, Jerry, we've seen a Texas basketball team take it to the other team from almost the get-go. Really, 5 minutes in, Texas owned that game all the way through. That's a level of consistency we haven't seen from Texas in a month and a half, maybe since they played LSU. I mean, that was a good game for Texas yesterday afternoon.
Well, I mean, the thing with Texas is if they're fully healthy, they have really good offensive parts. And going into the season, that's kind of one of the things I talked about, they have really good offensive parts if they're all healthy. But they have to be all healthy to play Tremont Mark at point. Tremont Mark was doing a lot of offense initiation, pretty good playmaker in the ball screen game, better than given credit for. So when he was healthy in preseason practices, Texas was running a lot of that with him, which that allowed Jordan Pope to play more free as a scorer shooter and then roll into that combo guard role because he's never been asked to play point before. At Oregon State, he was in that combo guard scoring role. And then Trey Johnson, then Kaluma, right? So they have really good offensive parts if they're healthy. But then Kendall Weaver's energy obviously is a massive, massive thing for any team. You could put him on any team in America, and as a energy player, glue guy, role player, he would impact winning for that team. Duke, any of them, you could put him on that team and say, here's a 15-minute per game role, go play it. And he would impact winning for that team. That's just a level of athlete and competitor he is, a defender, and just 50-50 balls turn into 75-25 for him, 50-50 rebounds. If it's not against a 7-footer, turn into 70-30 for him. So they had all their parts yesterday. Now, Vanderbilt was it's a different matchup against A&M. A&M is going to be rugged, physical. They want to see isolation ball. I don't think they'll play the same zone because Texas torched Vanderbilt zone yesterday. But I think you're going to see it's a different matchup today. And so Texas is going to have to shoot the three a little better than they did yesterday because they got so many other good looks versus Vanderbilt. I'm not sure they get those same looks today. So there's going to be a little more pressure on Texas to convert 7-8 3-pointers today, where both teams didn't shoot the three yesterday well. A lot of times that happens when you get into the big arenas and the conference tournaments. But I think A&M, because of their defensive ability and ability to limit second shots, is going to force Texas to hit 7-8 threes today against them. That's my bet going into that game.
And Colin says no TV for Texas versus Aggie. It's going to be on SEC Network. I just double checked on that. So yes, it will be on TV, Colin. We have some super chats, guys. This one here from Splenda Daddy, formerly Sugar Daddy. Thank you for your super chat. It's a scandal that Arch isn't on the cover of College Football 26. And I think if I recall correctly, CJ said that Hillman Sark actually turned that opportunity down, and it's going to be multiple people on the cover. I don't know who all was on there, but I'd have to go back and look.
There was a lot of guys on that cover. Yeah. I think it was 5-6 players, 7-8 players.
Yeah, it was a pretty high number.
A couple of coaches, James Franklin, Kirby Smart, I saw on there for sure. But yeah, no, I from what TJ reported, I think we've all heard the same thing, is that Arch and Sark turned that down.
I just want to say this real quick. I mean, I know that the leaked cover apparently came out. The leaked cover, these guys that are marketers at, NCAA football, the video game at EA Sports, they've been through this before. This is not their first rodeo. Yeah. There could be 8 different leaked covers out there so that you don't know which one is which at the very end of the game. I mean, we saw that last year, right? I would just be aware is all I'm saying. That I don't necessarily think that the leaked cover today is what's going to be the real cover a month from now or 2 months from now when that game gets debuted. So just keep that under your hat when you're thinking about those kind of things, because I've been around too long. The marketing guys can be pretty bright. I'll just put it that way, and put stuff out there and then react to it, etc.
By the way, for the chat, is there any doubt, unless Art says no, that he'll be part of the cover of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine this year?
Woo! I bet he's not. They like to be contrarians. They like to be contrarians a little. They may go with a high school coach. They may be contrarians.
Well,
do you know something, Blake?
I was going to say, they've been the past 2 years now. It's actually like a 2-cover deal where you have the main cover and then you open it up and you have the high school cover right on the immediate inside. So I don't know, maybe Sark. Could be Sark.
Could be. I mean, look, it could be Jeff Traylor.
Yeah,
I'm just that they march to their own beat. They don't want to be the 17th cover on the newsstands with the same picture.
I will say this: if it's not, I think Frank's going to be the winner. Scott Serac.
Oh yes,
yeah,
he deserves it.
I mean, he's won 10 state titles.
The dude deserves it. Like, I would applaud that decision.
Maybe put him on the cover, showing all his rings to Arch.
Yeah. But no, wouldn't you applaud that decision?
Oh, he should.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's won 10 state titles at one
school. Yeah,
I'll say that.
Well, I understand the idea of the phenomena that can be a Manning at quarterback at the University of Texas. I would applaud Dave Campbell's if they went in that direction. Actually,
now Dave Campbell's. You want me to give you a great idea, but it would be really. You have Arch in his Texas jersey, Peyton, Tennessee, Eli, and Archie in Ole Miss.
That would be like the national cover of some.
Hey, Athlons, there's your cover. Go after it, guys.
Yeah, something like that.
Send my royalties to BobbyBurton@gmail.com.
They could have shot it while he was doing the Uber commercial last week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
And I was looking, Dave Campbell's
that one, right?
The Dave Campbell cover reveal normally comes out the first week of June. I just went back and looked, so we'll know in a couple of months.
Maybe we'll get Greg Tepper on here and he'll give us a hint. We get Greg back on here and
put him on the spot.
Yeah.
All right, our next super chat, guys, comes from Maddie M. Maddie says, "Good morning, guys. I love the On Texas football programming. Besides the natural talent of running backs like Roschon Johnson, Bijan Robinson, and the Ohio State running backs to gain extra yards after contact, can that skill also be taught and developed to some extent?"
Yes.
It can be, to some extent, absolutely. I mean, you can get stronger. I mean, some of these guys aren't breaking tackles unless they're squatting a lot more weight. So yes, that the big piece of this, and Jerry and I talked about this quite a bit, actually, when it came to Jerrick Gibson. And it's the concern I have with Jerrick Gibson right now. It's not his athleticism per se, because I never thought he was a hyper great athlete. Okay. It's not his speed. I never thought he had 4.4 speed. What I noticed last year is that when he got hit, his head went down. Okay. If you're going to be a power back, that cannot be your MO. Then you just lose all sight of what's next. So can that head staying up as you get more confidence in your overall body playing college football, can that be developed? That's as much as anything that needs to be developed with Jerrick Gibson. If he can get confident in that regard, then I think Texas has a running back. If not,
you're always limited. You're always limited no matter your talent. What Bobby's getting at is, we've talked about this before. Running backs, naturally, you have to play high to low, then low to high. So on contact, you're naturally going to drop hips, drop pads, and you're going to drop your head level to generate power to run through a tackle. And Deshard Choice talked about this with what made Cedric Baxter so advanced early on. And some guys do it naturally. Some guys have to some dudes have to learn it. Is if you keep your head down that extra split second after contact and you don't get your eyes back up and your vision and your peripherals back engaged, then how are you going to break the second tackle if you don't know where it's coming from in the third? How are you going to protect the football if you don't have your eyes up and know Cedric Benson, then you don't know there's a helmet about to hit the football. Like, if you take away your reactionary vision and your peripheral vision on contact for that extra split second, 2 split seconds, you're toast. You have to initiate the contact, take the contact, and get the eyes back up immediately almost upon that contact. So then you can see where the next guy's coming from to maintain your contact balance and your ball protection. A lot of times I think people just say ball protection. He just carries it like a loaf of football. To me, sometimes that's it with guys, especially long arm running backs. Adrian Peterson had some of the strongest hands I've ever shaken. But he had such long arms, he was always going to have issues protecting the football. But Jerrick Gibson doesn't have that issue. Shorter arm, the 5'9" stockier backs don't have that issue. So when they have ball security issues, a lot of times is their eyes aren't up and they don't see where the contact's coming from early enough, soon enough.
A guy mentioned Cedric Benson. He's as good as it's ever come with contact balance. I mean, seriously, just you think of all the great running backs that did that. Ricky Williams was tremendous at that. And it's one of the reasons why Ricky's not this. Ricky's a really good athlete. Don't get me wrong. So I'm not taking that away from him. But he's not this hyper Jamal Charles type athlete that can dart and run a 10-3, right? But Ricky would get hit in the legs, and he was still looking for the next thing to be hit by. Okay, Earl Campbell. Get hit in the legs, hit in the shoulder, hit in the hip, still looking for the next guy to be hit by. Those guys are what I'm talking about. That's how you develop a power runner. You absorb that first hit and understand it so you can look towards the next one or getting out of the first one, et cetera, and finding your path of least resistance is what I would call it. Like, where can I go to get an extra 2 yards here? Or how can I fall forward instead of falling backwards, right? And that's what Jerrick Gibson, in my opinion, has to learn to prove it can be developed.
Chris McDonald, this is a factor as well. I think more as guys get older, hand size is a factor. I mean, one of the things that's going to ding Jaden Blue from the combine is the second smallest hands at the combine, and he plays running back, and long arms and small hands is going to get you dinged on the NFL level for sure, because Blue has good length for his height, but then he's got very small hands as well. So makes it really ball protection can be an issue at the college level, at the next level in that scenario for sure.
Next super chat comes from Jack. Thank you as always, Jack. We appreciate it. In regards to recruiting, staffing, game planning, whatever, who makes a better head coach, an offensive mind or a defensive mind?
I'll go first on this. I don't think it matters. I think the best head coach is the guy that knows who to hire around him. You can point to a lot of really good coaches that they got a big job and it didn't appear that they really knew who to hire to maximize the job or give those guys reign to actually coach and do their job. I would say the best guys or the best head coaches are the guys that know who to hire on their staff around them to help maximize their program, themselves as the coaches, and their team.
Let me ask you this. Nick Saban's a defensive coach, right? He ruled college football for 15 years. But think of all the offensive coaches he hired. Before him, best coach in college football might have been Urban Meyer. Now, you can like or dislike Urban Meyer. Personally, not my taste. But the reality of it, he was a tremendous college coach where he accumulated talent and put people into place. He was an offensive coach. He was a wide receivers coach. That was his upbringing. Before that, you could probably say Steve Spurrier was maybe the best college coach for a decade. He was an offensive coach. So you have a mix there. And then I look at the NFL. Bill Belichick, defensive coach. Bill Parcells, defensive coach. Andy Reid, offensive coach. Bill Walsh, offensive coach. I say that because I don't even think it goes in, like, I used to think that it might be a trend where it goes, sometimes offense is better than defense, and sometimes defense is ahead of offense. And so you trend, it goes from one to the other would be better suited. I think it comes down to actually more of what Jerry said. And that is that it's the guy that is the best coach, period. It doesn't matter what side of the ball. It's the one that, handles the details, makes sure his guys are working towards it, collects talent, then puts that talent in the right position to succeed. Those are the best coaches, not offense or defense. And I would say that I will also add this, if you're a struggling program like Texas basketball, okay, maybe you do need an offensive influx if you make a coaching change, because you need something totally different. But as far as an established coach, the best ones, and that's really what we're talking about, the ones that win national championships, it doesn't matter which side of the ball, in my opinion, anymore. It matters who's the best coach. And that means offense, defense, special teams, personnel decisions, the whole nine. So I'm not I got to have an offensive guy or got to have a defensive guy.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give me the right.
You look at how, and it'll be forever discussed, but you look at how Nick Saban adapted throughout his career at Alabama.
Sure.
I mean, how he adapted with the game moving the more offensive rules, offensive football, offensive fun style. Because that's not who he was naturally. But look how he kind of evolved and adapted with the game to become the legend he was. If he'd been hard-headed to say, nope, this is my way or the highway, I don't think he'd have 7 national championships right now. But he adapted with the game. Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian's. I mean, you just go down the list and went and got all the best receivers in South Florida. Jerry Judy's, Amari Cooper's, Calvin Ridley's. We kind of talked about that yesterday. He adapted with the game. The best guys to me in sports, period, are the ones who adapt with the changes in the sport they coach long term. If they're going to be in it 15, 20 years, the ability to adapt and continue to hire the right people and put all those people in the best place to be successful, that creates the legends, in my opinion. Unless you just in the pro sports and you have the greatest player of all time and, you roll with that. But you still have to have really good people around that guy.
And while we're on the subject of coaching, I actually posted this over on Texas Football the other day, but The Athletic came out with their top 25 list of the best coaches in college football. And Sark, number 4 on the list. Number 1's Kirby Smart. Number 2, Ryan Day. 3's Dabo. Like I said, Sark is 4. Kalen DeBoer is 5. And I got 1 through 15 up on the board or on the screen here, and I'll put up the other ones in a minute. But curious to get y'all's thoughts on this ranking.
4, I guess 3. The first 3 have won national championships, right?
Yep.
DeBoer at 5, Marcus Freeman at 6, Matt Campbell all the way up at number 9. That's surprising.
Tremendous coach. Should have got out.
Yeah, no, he really is. He's an astute talent guy too, by the way, Jerry.
Yeah.
He's got 2 receivers going to go. Who would have thought Iowa State would have 2 receivers going in the first 40 picks? Got a good quarterback. He's got 2 good running backs. He's a better talent guy than you give him credit for. Lincoln Riley all the way down at 13. 2 years ago, before he left OU, where would he be on this list?
Number 4.
Yeah.
Actually, it'd have been number 3 because they didn't have a national championship then.
Yeah. So maybe he's fallen from grace. Somebody asked me, a couple friends of mine yesterday asked me who I thought were some really good offensive minds in college football. There's 2 of them on this list that I mentioned, actually. One of them is Jeff Monken there at Army at number 25. I think he's a phenomenal offensive mind. And the other was at 15, Jeff Brom at Louisville.
Yeah.
I think those, along with Lane Kiffin, Sark, might be the best offensive minds in college football right now.
By the way, it doesn't say in here, but at the bottom there was an asterisk on the story. Kenny Dillingham not on this list because he hadn't been a head coach 3 years. He had to be a head coach 3 years. So obviously, if Dillingham wins the Big 12 again, he's going to shoot up into the top 12 of this list.
Sure.
And that's another bright offensive line. That's I think what's going to be interesting is I'm impressed with the hires Marcus Freeman made at Notre Dame. Bringing in Denbrock, right, Bobby? I mean, Al Golden he's shown, I think, the propensity early on to know who to hire. And that's going to give him a real chance long term, in my opinion. He's showing some really strong signs as a young head coach. You got to think. I mean, you got to remember, his first head coaching job was the pressure cooker of Notre Dame, and that is a real pressure job. And so you come in there and you show early signs of knowing who to hire. Pretty strong sign for you as a coach long term.
Speaking of pressure, Jerry, why don't you let everyone know?
Oh, that's a lead-in, Mike. Gosh, Blake. Speaking of pressure, let's talk about erections. All right, here we go. Say goodbye to weak erections with Joy Mode Sexual Performance Booster. This all-natural supplement is designed to enhance blood flow. Sounds positive. Giving you firmer, more reliable erections. But Joy Mode isn't just about better sex. Its daily use supports healthier blood vessels, boosts heart health, and enhances your athletic performance. All three of those sound positive. Expertly formulated and backed by science, it's proven to improve erectile function by 50% in 60 days. Simply mix a pack with water and feel the effects within 45 minutes. Take control with Joy Mode. Get a boost anytime, anywhere, and never miss a beat, period. Joy Mode, it features just 4 simple proven ingredients. Unlike prescription options that involve doctor visits and managing refills, pesky refills, bottles all over the floor, Joy Mode provides a straightforward, effective solution. Join over 200,000 men who trust Joy Mode to boost their performance without the side effects. Start a subscription and save up to 30%. Keep your performance at its best without any interruptions. If you're looking to take your game to the next level, visit tryjoymode.com. Use that code on Texas all caps at checkout for 20% off single purchases and 30% off subscription orders. I can guarantee you everybody's going to have their Joy Mode in Bridgestone Arena at 2:30 because what will we call that? Something we can't say today. A&M versus Texas in a measuring contest.
Oh, good stuff. All right, Bobby, let us know about Vaughn Lane one last time, please, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Tired of the hassle of flying or driving? Skip the airport stress and highway headaches. Travel in first-class comfort with Vaughn Lane, the luxury motor coach service connecting major Texas cities. And now Vaughn Lane has even expanded into the Southeast. They're growing kind of like old Southwest Airlines used to, offering routes between Nashville, Memphis, and Atlanta with spacious reclining seats, complimentary snacks and drinks on every trip, and meal service on select departures. Vaughn Lane makes stress-free and comfortable travel possible. Need to relax? Enjoy hot towel service, eye masks, pillows, blankets, all included. Stay productive with high-speed Wi-Fi and power outlets at every seat. You need to go see your parents? Take Vaughn Lane. Parents need to go see kids? Take Vaughn Lane. Let the kids pick you up. Upgrade your travel experience today. Visit vaughnlane.com and use promo code OTF25 for $20 off your first trip. Vaughn Lane, first-class travel without the hassle. And believe me, I need fewer hassles. I'm getting tired of the airport, dudes. I don't know about y'all. These lines, the Austin airport line right now is just ridiculous to get through security. If you're in Austin, you need to look up Vaughn Lane for sure.
We should do a coffee and football just on a Vaughn Lane bus.
Yes. Hey, they have Wi-Fi.
Should
we could do that? We could. We could drive by. Oh man, in the old days, we could take the Vaughn Lane bus over the I-35 elevated and watch practice below.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
We could fake a flat tire, pull over on the side, get the drone out, get a little practice footage.
There we go.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, we're going to get to some more questions here in just a moment. But first, guys, something that we need to talk about. Bobby, I'm going to let you take the lead on this.
Yeah, this is breaking this morning, and I do not have more for you than this. The Austin American-Statesman reporting Texas has self-reported NCAA violations related to sports wagering amid new monitoring efforts. The Texas Athletics Department self-reported 5 NCAA violations related to impermissible sports wagering between July 11 and November 4 of 2004, according to documents obtained by the Austin American-Statesman. This literally was filed this morning. I do not have more updates. It is something that we will be following the rest of the day to see what comes of it. No names were attached to the report, to my knowledge. I hope it's not anything serious. I will say 5 violations means it wasn't exactly widespread, but it could have been one party 5 different times. So we'll see what this means.
And I'm not saying it is. Obviously, it's during football season.
Yeah. Well, July 11 is not football season.
Yeah.
That's baseball, and that's not college baseball. That's pro baseball. Yeah. That's it.
Interesting. We'll see what happens. All right, we're going to get to some more questions here, some more super chats, guys. We're going to start with this one here from Rich Thompson. Fact or fiction? Is it true OU is regretting the SEC and wants to go back to the Big 12?
Fiction. Too much money. Prestige.
Yeah, I agree with Jerry. That sounds like a
fan fiction.
Yeah, that's just not true. I mean, look, there's so much money right now in the SEC to compete. Going back to the Big 12 would be a step. It wouldn't be a step backwards. It would be 2 steps backwards.
Yeah. And then our next one, guys, comes from Jackson Miles. Thank you, Jackson. Is our solution to inexperience to go get portal guys? If so, how do the young guys gain experience and get on the field? I'm not saying don't use the portal, by the way, but how does one gain experience?
Ryan Wingo did it last year. Jelani McDonald did it last year, despite there being portal prospects at their positions. Ultimately, the wheat separates from the chaff. And the cream rises to the top. If you're good enough to play at Texas, it doesn't matter who comes in front of you. This is what good programs do that middling programs do not. They're not scared of that fight. And you can sit there, my guy is not going to get his best opportunity to succeed. Yeah, that's bunk. I'll just be honest. That is such bunk, it's not even funny. And the reason I say that is really straightforward. They're either going to win a spot and be worthy of it and be on a good team, or they're not. And so how do they develop? They develop in practice. They develop in the weight room. There are only 16 days a year where they're playing a game. The rest is about development. I mean, Tony Hill was so great yesterday when he talked about it. It is a 365-day-a-year deal to get better. You only play, at the most, Texas has played 16 games. It's not about that. It's not about that. I'm big on it. About just letting the wheat separate from the chaff.
Oh, and here's the thing is everybody knows the game nowadays too in the high school level. They know that the portal is part of roster building and roster management and talent and roster maximization and team maximization. So I think what Sark is doing, and I've always said this, is you can be inexperienced in some spots, but you can't have an inexperienced roster. There's no excuse as a blue blood in college sports for somebody to walk up to the podium and say, guys, we're just really just an inexperienced, got a bunch of freshmen, sophomores running around this team this year. That's and Sark's not going to, even though he said we're inexperienced at some spots, look, they may go get a tight end out of the portal this spring. They may add another defensive lineman to help those transition of those young guys. They may get a wide receiver in the portal, although they have more guys that put up numbers at Texas returning this year because of Ryan Wingo and DeAndre Morton they had going into last year. They just took 3 guys 4 guys out of the portal at the position. They may take a wide receiver out of the portal as well to help bridge that gap, but he'd have to be a dude. So that's kind of where it's at for me. And again, the development's the key, and the development even in the portal guys is the key. If that guy's more than 1 year player, it's huge on development. And I would bet this too. The development piece doesn't just end with high school guys. I would bet if you asked Jermaine Lole if he developed under Kenny Baker and Bill Norton, they'd say yes last year.
I want to say this: just because you take somebody in the portal doesn't mean you're actually going to lose your job to them.
Yeah,
it's your job not to let them. You think Gunnar Helm went in and said, "Oh no, I'm going to lose my job to Amari Niblack," or you think Gunnar Helm went in there and took that job and made sure Amari Niblack didn't win it from him? I mean, dude, competition is what it's all about. And so if you're afraid of competition, and I mean, having competition is part of what drives you to develop too. If you're just given something, how's that developing you? That's not stretching you. The way to get, the whole iron sharpens iron thing, that's true. That's why the best teams have high level of competition amongst them. It's not just a one deep roster. And that's why I'm telling you that, talk about why I love football and stuff. It's 11 guys on both sides of the ball, right? It can't be just one guy carrying the weight of the world, and then all of a sudden you have a championship team. I think that element of competition at every position is what every coach strives for.
All right, we got one other super chat here. This one from Jeff Carey, going back to basketball momentarily. Guys, it would be horrifying if the Aggies beat us and knocks us out of the tournament.
That's what I said. It's a tough day for the Aggies, man, because look, if A&M beats Texas today, they're the final nail in the coffin for our team, more than likely. So while you celebrate that one day, you may not celebrate that in 2 years. But then if Texas beats A&M to get in the tournament, then they have to deal with that as well. So tough day for the Aggie fans there.
I got to say this: Texas already lost 1 and won 1 against A&M this year. I was more concerned that they might lose on November 30th than March 13th. So, if they hold it over a very average Texas basketball team, so be it.
And then we have.
By the way, you're welcome, Mandy. I did that just.
I saw that.
I just have fun with that, but I get it.
My wife pointed that out to me as well. By the way,
I just try to have fun with the read, but I get it.
Yes.
All right, we got time for just another question or two. K. John says, "Can Texas football win the national championship this season?" And I'm going to put the latest odds up on here. Texas, of course, has the second best odds right behind Ohio State. They're plus 500, followed by Georgia, Penn State, and Oregon, rounding out the top 5 best odds.
What's interesting to me is a question for the chat. Who has more to replace, Texas or Georgia? Ohio State obviously has the most to replace of anybody on this list, period. Just look at what they've lost. Georgia loses a lot more than people think. Like, they lose multiple impact playmakers, Bobby, off that team.
Especially on defense.
Four offensive linemen plus Jalen Walker, Michael Williams, Malachi Starks. I mean, I can keep going. The big inside guys, Brinson too. The other one, Nazir Stackhouse. And I know they've recruited at a high level, but they lose a ton of their impact playmakers, along with 4/5 of their offensive line, welcoming in a new first-year starting quarterback. Obviously, Travis Etienne, even though Nate Frazier will be a better player than Etienne. Georgia loses a lot off that team last year, and they recruited at a high level, just like Texas does, and they've been doing it a long time, but they lose a lot off that team.
Can Texas win the 2025 national championship? The answer is yes. Okay. Will they? I wouldn't put the odds at great. I don't think Texas should be the number 2 team there. My number 1 going into this year, even though they're coached by James Franklin, would be Penn State. I've said that for a number of times. I just think that they have third-year starting quarterback, 2 terrific running backs, talent-laden team. Got pretty far last year, like Texas. I don't know, and I don't like Ohio State for the national championship.
No,
I don't like Georgia for the national championship.
The crazy thing is, so think about this: Ohio State
after Penn State. I'm not sure that I think it's wide open for me.
Well, here's the thing to look at. Too, Ohio State going to be a first-year starting quarterback, a young guy, unless they go to the portal. Texas the same, Georgia the same. Penn State has experience back. Oregon, DeAndre Moore the same, not DeAndre Moore, Moore the same. Notre Dame the same. Alabama the same. Tennessee has Nico, but he hits the mascot more than he does the receiver at this point. Garrett Nussmeier, quality quarterback. Klubnik, quality. I don't know why I thought of Varsity Blues when the guy threw the ball off the mascot. Thought of Nico. And Ole Miss, first-year starting quarterback. Michigan, first-year starting quarterback. There's a Miami transfer quarterback. I mean, there is a lot of turnover at quarterback on that list that people are betting on to win the national championship.
That's why I say it's open. I would say this: Texas is in a better situation at quarterback than, say, an Oregon or a Georgia, or you mentioned Ohio State with a young quarterback. That Ohio State quarterback is a true sophomore. Arch Manning's going to be a redshirt sophomore. Yeah. Arch has one more year of ability. He's also better put together than Julian Sayin. Julian Sayin is not a big player, not a big guy. We'll see. I think Texas can. Do I think Texas will? I don't know. I think that the favorite has to be right now Penn State. And, is it enough to go put money on him in Vegas? Probably not.
Okay, let's.
Oh, wait a minute. Time out. Y'all hating on Nico is a mistake. I don't know. Is it?
He's got to make a really big leap. I mean, look, there are people that ranked him number 1 over Arch Manning coming out of high school. He's got to make a massive leap based on what?
I don't think he's bad.
I don't think he's bad either.
He's very Marcus Mariota-ish, where he's kind of a one-hit player. That's my take.
He's got to be a lot. Yeah.
Nico is a mixed bag. Not a bad mixed bag. All right, we'll watch this year. Hey, he was a top 10 team this year. So I want to be clear. I mean, we're talking levels. Just before we have a bunch of Tennessee fans come over here and look the chat. I mean, we're talking levels here.
My issue with the thing I saw with Nico last year that concerned me, accuracy one, but they came out of a timeout. And I don't care if you're a young quarterback or not, it goes to instincts for football. They came out of a timeout at Arkansas with, 6 seconds left? Last play of the game. He ran out of bounds. I'm just going to leave that there. That's not an instinctive football player. Will he end up being really good? Maybe. The guy ran out of bounds on the last play of the game coming out of a timeout. When you had to go throw the ball in the zone to win the game, he ran out of bounds. I don't care if you're a youth league football player. That shows a lack of football instincts. He's going to have to overcome it. That's as bad a play as I saw from a quarterback this year in college football.
Blake May has it right. Nico and Milton both, and Joe Milton's the big arm quarterback they had, both missed too many wide open wide receivers. You know what this tells me, though? Josh Heupel loves the strong arm quarterback that can hit the seam route.
Yep.
And those two guys can do that because they have absolute cannons. And so we'll see that.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football presented by Vaughn Lane. Want to thank them along with Goodr, Mint Mobile, and Joy Mode all for sponsoring today's show. And again, thank you so much for your support as we went over 75,000 subscribers. That's absolutely amazing, phenomenal. Couldn't do it without each and every one of you. And Bobby, what do you have later today for all 75,000?
Well, obviously, Texas plays basketball today at 2:30. We're going to be looking more into this report this morning that Texas self-reported multiple violations to the NCAA from July 4th through November, or July 11th through November 4th to the NCAA over alleged gambling. 5 instances or 5 violations. We do not know more than that at this time. We'll be looking into that as well. Then we also have some previews of positions that will continue, football theory as well. And then we have everything going on tomorrow. Hopefully Texas beats A&M in basketball, so tomorrow's Coffee and Football can kind of be upbeat going into the weekend for you guys. Also, I want to remind you guys about Vaughn Lane. Thank you to them very much for becoming a part of the On Texas Football family. Couldn't appreciate a sponsor more than them and what they've done for us here at On Texas Football. So hop on Vaughn Lane when you get a chance.
All right. And speaking of hopping on, be sure to hop on ontexasfootball.com. Become a member using promo code OTFOG. You'll get a full year for just $49.95. Again, that's promo code OTFOG at ontexasfootball.com. And we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Hook 'em.